Well, hello, friends. It's good to see you here this evening. Hopefully, a few of you are able to join me here. We can spend these few moments together here tonight. Not been able to get on quite as much as usual. Hi, Linda. We've had a lot of baseball stuff and some different evening activities and things that have been going on here in the summertime, but it's good to be able to get together. So hi, Mom, and hi, Alan. It's good to see you as well, and hi, Barb. Looks like we have nine people here watching. So hopefully everybody's enjoying their day today. It's a beautiful day out. Really, it's not as hot as it's been. It's still warm, of course. It's summertime, but it's not quite as hot as normal. So hello to Robesons also. Hey, Jay. It's good to have you guys here this evening. So we had a good hi, Michelle. Okay. Sure. We'll be happy to pray for you with the decisions that you have in front of you there. I know sometimes the decisions that don't have a clear direction, we need a lot of wisdom on. So that's certainly a factor in our lives in various different areas. So, hi, Tom and Julie as well. It's good to see you guys here this evening. So, if there's anything new or exciting or whatever going on, you can feel free to leave a comment in there and let me know. Let me know what's up in the chat there. I've been reading ahead a little bit in this book. We had a good time. Few of you here came out last night. It did rain, but I didn't park in my carport on purpose, and we did end up needing it because it did rain pretty good on our little parade last night. So. But we still had some ice cream and some good fellowship and things, and then some good discussion, really. And that's the idea, to get us thinking and talking more about Jesus. So, hi, Jerry. Thanks for joining us as well. I'm glad to see that you are able to connect here again tonight. And I saw you yesterday as well, so I'm glad we got that. Figured out. So this book, the Good Life, that I've been sharing some from, it goes through the Beatitudes. And one of the things I think we kind of realized last night is that we maybe don't have as much of a grasp on these Beatitudes of Jesus as maybe we should, considering they're so kind of foundational to to what Jesus teaches there in the Sermon on the Mount. So, hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us as well. And Tom didn't get ice cream. Well, you could have. It was offered to you, Tom. So I don't know. I don't know who to blame on that one. So Tom mentioned his coworker Laurie again that he mentioned yesterday morning with bipolar and some real challenges with her. So certainly, yeah. So the beatitude that we're going to be looking at this week and discussing for those who want to join us again here on Sunday evening is blessed are the poor in spirit, and what that might mean. I shared a little bit last night that, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about what these different beatitudes mean. And Jesus didn't give a whole lot of detail on each one. He just kind of said, blessed are the, and he kind of listed them off. And he has other teaching in other places, but he doesn't just, he didn't do a whole message on each one exactly what he meant. So there's a little bit of thought or discussion to be had in it, which I think is good. It's going to be fruitful for us to do that. But in this chapter here in this book, what Derwin does, the author here, is he kind of contrasts poor in spirit with pride in the aspect of kind of I don't really need God, right? I kind of have everything figured out for myself, and I'm doing just fine. And that really, I think it's true that to a certain extent, it's really when we understand our need for grace, our need for forgiveness, our need for God in our own lives, that really we open ourselves up to what God can really do in us. Where when we kind of feel like, well, I kind of just did it, I kind of just did it all myself, and God just kind of becomes like an extra or a cheerleader. But when we realize how much we need Him, and he shares here at this point in his life that he reached a time when he really realized that he didn't have it all together, and a lot of times what we end up doing is just kind of faking it, right? Just kind of pretending that we're all in control of everything in our own lives, and really that's sometimes we're really only fooling ourselves in that situation. So what he says is this is, I'm reading a little bit on page 36. We'll be talking about this some more coming up this week, but he says, it was only by recognizing that I was not good that I could experience the goodness of God. It was even the goodness of God that opened my eyes to see the need of His grace, which is kind of an interesting thing. And that's kind of been my experience as well over the course of time, that it's more in seeing how good Jesus is that we realize kind of by comparison how weak we are. That happened, remember, with Simon Peter in the catch of fish at the beginning of his journey with Jesus. That I remember he'd been fishing all night, couldn't catch a thing. Jesus said, go ahead one more time, Peter. And he said, okay, just, I'll do it for you, Lord. And then he had this, this crazy miraculous catch of fish. And when he saw Jesus's power and His goodness, Peter's response was, go away from me, because I'm a sinful man, right? It's when we see the more clearly we see Jesus, the more kind of humbled we become. And yet he lifts us up, and He invites us to follow Him and to learn from Him how to experience His goodness in our lives, really from the inside out, right? And I love this statement here in the book. He says, I hit rock bottom and discovered that Jesus was the rock. I hit rock bottom and discovered that Jesus was the rock. And that's right. That's so cool. And to a certain extent, even when things kind of fall apart in life from what we planned and what we thought, was going to be the case and stuff, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes when our lives get desperate and we can't fake it anymore, we realize that we're not really in control of things the way that we might think we are or want to be. So I love that statement. I hit rock bottom and discovered that Jesus was the rock. And, that happened to so many people throughout Jesus's ministry in the Gospels, right? That He said, I've not come for the healthy, but for the sick. And it was all the marginalized and the messed up and the sinful and the broken and everything else that, that saw their need for Jesus. So being at rock bottom isn't a bad thing if it helps you to see that Jesus is the rock. So he continues, on August 2nd, 1997, I met King Jesus and I trusted Him. With arms wide open, He welcomed me into His kingdom. And that, guys, reminds me of the parable of the prodigal son, right? The father, and that's the picture of God, right? With His arms wide open to anybody who's coming back to Him, even having made some really bad choices, right? So this is the goodness of God. It doesn't exclude anybody. It's pretty amazing. So the Greek word that's translated poor in this idea, right? Poor, blessed are the poor in spirit. This is from the book here. It says was commonly used to describe a beggar who was dependent on a provider, right? If you're a beggar, you don't have anything. In most of the cases in the first century, is because they literally couldn't work. It's not that they didn't want to work or were lazy. A lot of times they just didn't have the physical ability to go out and work in a field. And so if nobody helped them, they were in big trouble. So that's the idea spiritually, that we're to understand that if God doesn't help us, we're in big trouble, right? We're in big trouble spiritually. Jesus is teaching us that the good life is only for beggars, right? For spiritual beggars. Only for those who are completely dependent on God to provide every single thing that we have. Only for those who hope in Him alone. And then here's a cool lyric. 18th century hymn writer Augustus Toplady, that's a weird name, Augustus Toplady, was right when he wrote this line. Nothing in my hands I bring, simply to thy cross I cling. Right. And that's the cool thing, right? That we see this throughout the biblical story, that when we come, not with the idea that, oh God, we have so much to offer you, but when we come just saying, I'm not worthy. I don't have anything, to trade for your love. But, right. But the cross shows that, what God is really like, right? That He loves us and welcomes them in. And then finally, happy are the beggars, for only they receive the unending riches of Christ. And then here's a verse to close us. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 9. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, though He was rich, for your sake He became poor, so that by His poverty you might become rich. Right? That's part of this great exchange, that Jesus came for us. And He gave up His privilege and His position to become a servant, to become poor, to become, as I said, either to become other places, Philippians, to become obedient to death, even death on a cross. So He did all that we might have, those riches in Christ, that we might have this good life, this God life. So don't miss it. Right? That would be tragic. And that's kind of part of this discussion. How do we go deeper into everything that God has for us? And part of that, I think, is continuing to submit our lives, our pride, our ability, our whatever, to Him, and allowing Him to transform us. So it's powerful. He is able to do abundantly more than we could ask or imagine. But it's just been my experience that God doesn't railroad over us. He wants so much for us to just trust Him and to lay down our lives, to lose our lives, to find it, to pick up our cross and follow Him. And that's where the good stuff comes. And, but we got to trust Him. We got to trust Him. We got to try Him out and find that His promises are true, and that what He has for us is better than what we can kind of carve out for ourselves. So, thanks to all who joined us here tonight. It's good to be together. It's good to see you. And maybe Wednesday again, not tomorrow. We have an Awana meeting tomorrow night, and Isaac has a baseball game. So be in prayer for us with our Awana, our kids and student ministry, as we kind of talk about how to roll back in September and make a few adaptations for things that are going on here, and to continue to pour into these kids' lives, right? Because we want to teach them about Jesus and train them to serve Him. That's why we do what we do, and we want to get back to that. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, Rachel, for jumping in there, and thanks for sharing the text too, so we don't have to look it up. I believe, help my unbelief. Yeah, that's good. That's kind of the journey that we're on. Just where we're at and taking the next step, going deeper. So, okay, love it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.